restrained the Attorney General from extrajudicial statements in violation of the rule that could prejudice Mr. Mangione's right to a fair hearing by a grand jury, including the grand jury's consideration of death-eligible offenses and factors. Mangione's attorneys are alleging the Attorney General's statements saying this guy's guilty, not using alleged, is prejudicing any potential members of a grand jury, basically declaring him guilty before he's even been tried in a criminal court.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. Breaking news. Attorneys for Luigi Mangione, the alleged shooter of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, have filed in court challenging the United States government and the Department of Justice's seeking of the death penalty against Mangione for allegedly killing Brian Thompson. Adding on to that breaking news, less significant, CNN has confirmed that they are doing a hit piece on supporters of Luigi Mangione, which I reported on earlier. We'll get to that later. Let me start with this filing. It's 33 pages. Full disclosure, I have not been able to read all of it. I read most of it, so I believe I know the gist of it. And it makes extremely compelling arguments against the death penalty for Mangione, and that Attorney General Bondi's decision to seek the death penalty is arbitrary and political. I'm going to read from certain sections of this. This is from Luigi's attorney, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, filed in court today. When the United States plans to kill one of its citizens, it must follow statutory and internal procedures. Defendant Luigi Mangione seeks court intervention now, not merely because the government has failed to follow these procedures, but because it has abandoned them. He seeks court intervention because the Attorney General explicitly stated that she has ordered the death penalty to, quote, carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. Mr. Mangione's counsel asked for 3 months to prepare a fulsome mitigation submission to the Department of Justice's Capital Committee and was ignored. So she's revealing there that they had offered a plan to the Department of Justice or a proposal against the death penalty, and they were ignored. The stakes could not be higher. The U.S. government intends to kill Mr. Mangione as a political stunt. We appreciate and will address the province and discretion of the executive branch of government and how, in the unusual course, courts defer to the executive's established procedures. But the Attorney General's actions and public statements in this case have not followed the usual course. Because the Attorney General has chosen to proceed in this way, Mr. Mangione's due process rights have already been violated, and the manner in which the government has acted has prejudiced the grand jury pool and has corrupted the grand jury process. We seek two forms of relief from the court. First, because the Attorney General's direction to the SDNY prosecutors issued publicly as a press release to seek a death sentence for Mangione is political, arbitrary, capricious, a breach of established death penalty protocol, and has now indelibly prejudiced this process, the government should be precluded from seeking the death penalty. Second, because of the highly public nature of the Attorney General's press release directive, her follow-up Instagram post stating plainly Mangione is guilty of murder, though he is still unindicted, let alone convicted, and her statement that Mangione should be executed because he committed two particularly statutory aggravating factors, the Attorney General has prejudiced the grand jury process in this district. Accordingly, any grand jury that is or is to be impaneled on Mr. Mangione's case should be polled on their exposure to the Attorney General's improper statements and actions. Of course, as explained below, the impropriety of the Attorney General's conduct is clear from her obvious violation of Local Rule 23.1. The Attorney General compounded this prejudice by appearing on television on Sunday, April 6th, and stating that she has received, quote, death threats for seeking the death penalty. Real quick, to be clear, there's three cases against Mangione. You have the state of New York case, which we have covered, and we have been outside the courthouse when Mangione appeared for the state of New York case. There's the case in Pennsylvania, which we've also been reported on, where his attorney Thomas Dickey in Pennsylvania has alleged serious due process violations, not cops arresting him and detaining him for as much as 17 minutes without reading him his Miranda rights, improperly seizing his backpack without a search warrant, and the federal case But important to note, there has not yet been an indictment submitted by a federal grand jury. So Mangione federally has not been indicted yet, which she's about to specify. As a result, this court should preclude the government from seeking the death penalty, order that any proposed federal grand jurors be screened for exposure to the Attorney General's prejudicial public statements, order the Attorney General to certify she has read Local Rule 23.1, which is kind of, poking at the Attorney General that she is clueless, restrain the Attorney General from extrajudicial statements in violation of the rule that could prejudice Mr. Mangione's right to a fair hearing by a grand jury, including the grand jury's consideration of death-eligible offenses and factors, order the government to produce for in-camera inspection any memoranda, documents, and notes from the SDNY's consideration of the death penalty, as well as any memoranda, documents, and notes provided to the Attorney General as part of her, quote, careful consideration of the evidence. Just so you know, in camera in legal terms means confidential. So behind closed doors is the in-camera process. Order the government to produce to Mr. Mangione any emails, records, documents, memoranda, and notes of any communication between a government official and anyone advocating for the death sentence or any particular sentence, in this case, by or on behalf of any business, corporate interest, lobbyist, or other party directly or indirectly. For the layman, Cliff Notes version, Mangione's attorneys are alleging the Attorney General's statements, public Instagram posts, basically saying this guy's guilty, not using alleged, is prejudicing any potential members of a grand jury because they have already been exposed to the Attorney General of the United States, the top cop of the U.S., basically declaring him guilty before he's even been tried in a criminal court, which is prejudicial and puts any defendant at a disadvantage. Let me continue. Statement of facts. The Attorney General's April 1st press release. On the morning of April 1st, the U.S. Attorney General issued a press release. The title of the press release is Attorney General Pam Bondi directs prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione. In the release, the Attorney General wrote, after careful consideration, I have directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case as we carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. The Attorney General continued, quote, as alleged, Luigi Mangione stalked and murdered United Healthcare executive Brian Thompson on December 4th, 2024. The murder was an act of political violence. Mangione's actions involved a substantial planning and premeditation, and because the murder took place in public with bystanders nearby, may have posed a grave risk of death to additional persons. As you could see, Mangione's attorneys put in bold certain terms. The Attorney General concluded the press release by stating, this is in line with Attorney General Pam Bondi's Day 1 memo entitled Reviving the Federal Death Penalty and Lifting the Moratorium on Federal Executions. The Attorney General's statements were immediately and widely reported by press outlets around the world, including the New York Times, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, BBC, Reuters, blah, 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 lists a lot of a lot of outlets. Rather than authorizing the SDNY prosecutors to seek the death penalty in a non-public communication, the Attorney General saw fit to direct them to do so via press release. In this release, she did not once say that Mangione had not yet been indicted for any federal crime, or that these are mere allegations. She never once discussed the presumption of innocence, or that Mangione is innocent until proven guilty. She assured the country that she gave the matter careful consideration. But as indicated below, when the defense asked for 3 months to conduct an albeit abbreviated mitigation investigation and prepare a submission to the current administration's capital case section, this was ignored. Also, to the extent she referred to 2 statutory aggravating factors, she materially misstated one of them. She also called the incident, quote, an act of political violence, even though Mangione is charged in a complaint with stalking a single person who was not a politician or even political. Although he did buy off the politicians because United Healthcare, like the rest of the vampire health insurers, purchase every politician in America. Well, not every, but most of them. The Attorney General's press release is relevant because of the political nature of this decision. However, the Attorney General was not done making public statements. Then Mangione's attorney goes on to the Instagram post by the Attorney General of the U.S. Shortly after the Attorney General's press release, the Attorney General launched an Instagram account. The inaugural 2 posts of the Attorney General's Instagram account were a photograph of her standing before the seal of the U.S. Department of Justice and the following message. Luigi Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of 2 young children, was a premeditated, cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. After careful consideration, I have directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty in this case as we carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. Again, the Attorney General failed to mention Mangione has not been indicted, nor that he is presumed to be innocent. She did reemphasize that this decision was based on politics, specifically the administration's agenda, make America safe again. She was still not done making public statements and prejudicing Mangione. Then the attorney for Mangione goes on to her appearance on Fox News Sunday on April 6th, where she said, the president's directive was very clear. We are to seek the death penalty when possible. It hadn't been done in 4 years. I was a capital prosecutor. I tried death penalty cases throughout my career. If there was ever a death case, this is one. This guy is charged with hunting down a CEO, a father of 2, a married man, hunting him down and executing him. I feel like these young people have lost their way. I was receiving death threats for seeking the death penalty on someone who was charged with an execution of a CEO. We are going to continue to do the right thing. We are not going to be deterred by political motives. I've seen a protester walking down the street here, free Luigi. I mean, this guy is charged with a violent crime, and we are going to seek the death penalty whenever possible. Mangione's attorney writes, the Attorney General's television appearance was similar to her first 2 public statements in that she never mentioned Mangione was not indicted, nor that he has the presumption of innocence. She emphasized for the third time that her decision to seek the death penalty was based on the president's directive, specifically that the administration will seek the death sentence whenever possible. She then invoked her personal experience, saying that she was a capital prosecutor who tried death penalty cases, and that, quote, if there was ever a death sentence, this is one. The AG stated during her television appearance that a reason she ordered the death sentence was because the alleged victim was a CEO. Bingo! Counsel is aware of no provision in the death penalty statutory or in the Department of Justice death penalty protocol that allows for consideration of the social, economic, or professional status of an alleged homicide victim in determining whether to seek the death penalty. Well, apparently they're rewriting legal code to give preferential treatment to for-profit Fortune 500 CEOs. I think Mr. Thompson was making about $10 million a year. The Attorney General's pattern of public statements showed with remarkable clarity and consistency that she has ordered this capital prosecution unabashedly for political reasons, that her statements prejudice any potential grand jury pull, and that the victim's professional status as a CEO is relevant to her decision. As will be shown below, her decision was also reached without regard to the established Department of Justice death protocol, which is wholly abandoned. Let me move on to that part. An analysis of the case where the SDNY has sought the death penalty over the past almost 4 decades illustrates that Mangione's case is an outlier. Mangione's attorney writes, counsel pointed out to the Capital Committee of the prior administration that since 1988, the U.S. attorney in this district has filed notice of intent to seek the death penalty in roughly 17 cases. Every one of these cases involved defendants who committed murder as part of a violent drug or racketeering enterprise, in furtherance of a narcotics business, or as part of a terrorist organization. This alone is a major distinction from this case. A defendant who has joined a violent drug, racketeering, or terrorist enterprise has already made a commitment to significant criminal activity. This is obviously not the case with Mr. Mangione. All but 4 defendants were charged with multiple murders. As to each of the defendants charged with a single murder, Derek Frank, Jose Santiago, Alan Quinones, and Diego Rodriguez, each defendant had already made a commitment to a life of crime by joining a violent drug gang or being involved in the sale of narcotics on a large scale. In addition, each defendant engaged in conduct involving aggravating factors not present here. For instance, Derek Frank killed a witness to his drug activity after kidnapping and torturing the victim. Santiago was a member of a racketeering enterprise and specifically ordered the victim to be killed in front of the victim's wife and children. Quinones and Rodriguez tortured and killed an informant as part of their membership in a violent drug organization. These 4 defendants are vastly different from Mr. Mangione for a host of reasons, only some of which we will note here. Then she moves on, skipping around here. The Attorney General's directive to seek a death penalty is a breach of established death penalty protocol, as well as arbitrary and political. Given these facts and circumstances, the Attorney General's directive to seek death should be vacated for 3 related reasons. Number 1, the Attorney General has abandoned established death penalty protocol. As noted, counsel was given 5 days notice before the only meeting afforded counsel with the Capital Case Committee, which was hastily assembled virtual Microsoft Teams meeting. In preparation for that meeting and with limited time permitted, counsel prepared a letter that they submitted the day before the meeting. This was the only submission and the only capital case committee meeting afforded counsel. To be clear, and this has been reported elsewhere, typically the Department of Justice will take a year to determine if the death penalty should be sought in a specific case. This decision has been made. I mean, the murder was December, so that's 5 months ago. Obviously, they have expedited this well out of their typical timeline. Significantly, the submission to and the meeting with the Capital Case Committee were with one existing under the previous administration. Since the change administration, counsel has not been asked for submission or offered the opportunity to meet with the Capital Case Committee formed by and existing under the current administration. 2, the Attorney General's decision is arbitrary. It is not surprising that after a wholesale rejection of the death penalty protocol, the Attorney General ordered the death penalty. Counsel advanced 3 cogent reasons why the Mangione case was plainly outside the realm of cases where the district has sought the death penalty. We pointed out the specific Justice Manual section stating that the federal interest in a death penalty prosecution is diminished where there is an effective local prosecution, as is undoubtedly the case here. We pointed out that only one statutory aggravating factor could conceivably apply to the alleged conduct. In response, the Attorney General literally changed the wording of a second factor in her press release, ordering the death penalty to make it falsely appear that there were 2 applicable factors instead of 1. The Attorney General's directive to seek the death penalty under such circumstance can only be described as arbitrary and capricious. Finally, we listed the cases where the SDNY had sought the death penalty over the past 4 decades. Rather than relying on these reasons, the Attorney General cited the professional status of the victim as a CEO, the fact that the previous administration had not sought the death penalty in 4 years, and that her decision to order it here was due to the president's Make America Safe Again. Also, if the death penalty was being ordered pursuant to policy instead of publicity, the Attorney General would not have put her directive in the form of a press release followed by an Instagram post. Lastly, the Attorney General's decision is political. The AG's decision is explicitly and unapologetically political. The Attorney General could hardly have been clearer as to the basis for her directive that the prosecutor seek the death penalty in this case to, quote, carry out President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime and make America safe again. Not only did she explicitly cite to the administration's policy to make America safe again in the original press release on April 1st, she reiterated that during her television appearance on Sunday, April 6th, that the president's directive was very clear. We are to seek the death penalty whenever possible. Because the driving factor for the Attorney General ordering the death penalty was politics and not the facts of the case, including any mitigating factors, as she is required to do, it is no surprise that the defense request for 3 months to, quote, conduct a thorough mitigation investigation in order to submit additional information is ignored. So essentially, she is calling out Pam Bondi for doing the political bidding of President Trump to do the death penalty whenever you can. And frankly, because this is a high-level CEO for one of the club, the for-profit predatory health insurance industry, which Donald Trump is not going to do a goddamn thing to change because he's totally fine with the predatory murderous for-profit health insurance industry. I don't know if this will be reversed, but I think this is a compelling argument. I will put in the description of this video the full briefing if you want to read along. I also want to share with you breaking news, I guess. Earlier today, please check it out. If you missed it, I did a video on a soon-to-be hit job that CNN is planning to do. They are doing a documentary on Sunday titled Misinformation, Misinfonation, that they are tackling extremism and misinformation, and they are grouping in Luigi Mangione supporters as part of that extremism. Let me play for you again this clip, them previewing.
You know, from Charlottesville to January 6th, there isn't exactly an equivalent on the left in this moment. And as you can see there, as part of our doc, we actually were outside the DC jail on inauguration night when, of course, Trump began pardoning a lot of people who took part in the January 6th riot, and people began to be released. But we did go also spend some time with people who are fans of Luigi Mangione, the, of course, alleged murderer of Brian Thompson, the healthcare CEO. And from speaking to them, you know, we put to them that are they also cheering on violence? So you'll be able to tune in on Sunday night to see what they said to that.
Are they also cheering on violence? Well, I was there on the ground because you, the great viewers and paid members, hint, hint, sign up to support this important on-the-ground reporting. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. That's 16 cents a day. We'll be out next week outside the courthouse for Mangione's federal court hearing, if it's not delayed again. So I did a video basically pointing out that I saw this guy there. I heard him interviewing people, and all he was doing was completely framing it as to get them to basically say they support murder. He was not interested in asking them, do you have personal healthcare horror stories? How have you or your loved ones been affected by healthcare denials? He just wanted to frame them as murderers. And in the video I did this, or excuse me, supporting a murderer, an alleged murderer. And I played clips this morning, check out the video, of people I interviewed, one of whom said they're not there for Luigi. They're there for healthcare reform. Others who clearly said they don't support murder, but they are there supporting him for a bigger picture purpose, which is healthcare reform, canceling, reforming, doing away with the predatory healthcare system. Well, I guess Donnie Sullivan saw my video and then confirmed exactly what I reported. His tweet, which I guess was to promote his upcoming documentary. Tune in to Misinfo Nation Extreme America, Sunday, 8 o'clock on CNN, where you'll see us meeting far-right extremists with a long history of hate, talks to pardon January 6 rioters, and encounter a new generation of radicalized Americans justifying the murder of a healthcare CEO. Thank you, Donnie and CNN, or Donnie, I think it's pronounced, for literally confirming what my report, that you are dishonestly framing supporters of Luigi Mangione as radicalized Americans justifying the murder of a healthcare CEO, which almost every single supporter of Luigi Mangione that I have interviewed, every one of them almost, has basically said, well, I don't condone murder. I don't condone the method, alleged. It's still alleged. But I'm here because I support his grievance, and I have a story to tell. Apparently, CNN's not interested in nuance, and they're certainly not interested in digging into the extremism of a predatory for-profit health insurance industry killing millions of Americans. That's what's going on. There's a lot more people dying of murder at the hands of United Healthcare and others. Sorry, Donnie, if that sounds radical to you, than allegedly Luigi Mangione. So I tweeted back at good old Donnie boy. Thank you. Thanks for confirming my report on your upcoming CNN hit piece on Luigi Mangione supporters, who you dishonestly framed as, quote, radicalized extremists, despite not asking any of them about their harmful experiences with the for-profit health insurers. I went on to say, nor why they were outside the courthouse supporting him. FYI, almost every supporter of Mangione I interviewed told me they don't condone murder or him allegedly murdering United Healthcare CEO, but we're supporting him for the bigger picture of the predatory healthcare industry killing Americans. But of course, you didn't go to interview supporters of him to actually find out why they supported him or be able to report about the deeper dissatisfaction with the for-profit health insurance industry. You went there with your bias already made up, extremists, with framing them as such in mind. Great journalism, mate. I call him mate because I think he's British. Could be wrong. I'm not going to watch their documentary. I hope you don't either, because I don't care to. But this is our corporate media. When there's an explosion in anger and frustration unleashed both from the left and the right against the predatory for-profit health insurance industry, that's what has happened after the murder of Brian Thompson. Most of the reaction has not been sympathy for him, but outrage against him and the industry. They want to focus on the radicals supporting Luigi Mangione. We will stay on this. Thank you for your support. And again, if you can, support Status Coup for as low as $5 a month. As far as I know, we're the only ones who have stayed on this.